Okay, welcome to Mental Toughness Monday. And we are on number 41 this week. So last week we talked about being determined to win. The world class is determined to win. Does anybody have any thoughts that they want to share about this week and how they decided they were determined to win? Any thoughts on that? I'll read you the quote. Vince Lombardi, the legendary coach for the Green Bay Packers, said, "Winning isn't everything, but wanting to win is." And I thought, wow, there's a lot of truth in that. And the world-class resource was to watch Rocky. Did anybody watch Rocky? I love Rocky, but I did not watch it. I should have watched it yesterday when I was not feeling great.
I think it's a great quote. And I think that, like, right now, I think, especially as we're in the thick of trying to change our minds about our food, and I just sent you an article this morning that was about um, it was, it was said, did big tobacco, um,
Yeah, I saw it.
create the food in the processed food industry. Anyway, and I think about like those kinds of things that we're learning, and that the things that are, having a light shined on them. And it does make me want to change my mind. I mean, I've been doing this a while and I'm pretty good at it, but there are still times when I think like, oh, really? Like I have to put in a little more effort to do the thing that I want to do. And that's hard, but I want to do it. And I would say 99% of the time now, I just do it because I've gotten stronger, right? Like have that habit really ingrained where it's like it's not worth it to do otherwise. So, but that wanting to and recognizing what is changed, in our environment and stuff really motivates me, I guess, to take action and to do something different.
Right, right. I love that because the wanting to and also just it's been super motivating to me also to realize how I don't know why it just pushes all the right buttons of just finding out that big tobacco created the food industry and that they're doing the same kinds of, pulling the same kinds of tricks that they did in making the tobacco, cigarettes and things so addictive. They're doing those same kinds of things in our food. And yeah, the further I get away from it, the more I'm like, you kind of think because the holidays are coming up and, whatever, and you're just like the traditions and the different things that you normally do. And like, how many of those things do I really want to do? And I'm going to do a lot of them just because not my whole family hasn't changed their mind on this. And I don't want to be like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I am really hopeful to be able to introduce some new thoughts and some new ideas. And I know for myself, like, when I started, I thought, okay, well, I'll do it and good will be done before the holidays, so I won't have to be like, feeling anxious about it or anything. But the more I get into it, the more I'm like, why do I want to go back to that? I just don't know why I would want to eat that and make myself feel that way. Like I don't even know if I want to taste it. Like if there are flavors that I want to have be a part of my life at that time, isn't there a way I can make them be um, done in a healthy way? Like anyway, so I do. I feel that, and I love your idea too, or your thought, Camille, of just like just being like it's easier, it's better, and it's like more it almost really is easier to just stay on the plan. Just don't go off because then you don't have to mess with all the emotion and all the pain and symptoms and whatever else is going on with that. So
Well, once you introduce those chemicals, you then have to fight against the chemicals, not just the desire that I want to do something different. And the same thing goes even without food, where you don't have those chemicals, where you take a step and maybe you procrastinate something, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's building that habit. It's that I hear people say, it's okay to miss one day, but not two, you know, and just because you want to maintain those habits that you've worked so hard to develop, it's like, why would I want to undo what I've worked so hard to put in place?
Right. Right. Oh, I love that. Well, the next one, chapter 41, is champions dedicate their lives to greatness. So this is also just seems like it's right on par with what we're talking about. I'm trying to see if I can get enough light to read it to you.
Mhm.
Professional performers are the most dedicated people alive, while amateurs are dedicated when things go well. Champions are always dedicated. In other words, it's not what they do, it's who they are. The great ones don't know any other way. Their dedication to excellence shines through in everything they do. Dedication is a habit they've developed. It serves as a cornerstone of their success and fulfillment in life. Average people are more dedicated to pleasure than to performance. Eeh, that one hurts a little, doesn't it? Or convenience. I think that's another one that we can be really, really dedicated to. The top 1% of world-class performers invest thousands of dollars every year in self-development books, DVDs, CDs, seminars, workshops, and retreats. That's true too. Most amateur performers haven't read a book since high school and wouldn't attend a self development seminar unless you paid them. The masses tend to believe education ends with high school or college graduation. The world class tends to believe formal education only teaches you how to learn, cope with, and manage yourself in the world as an adult. They believe real education begins after school lets out. Dedication to getting what they want from life is a driving force behind champions. While the masses seek perpetual pleasure, the great ones focus on achievement. The irony is that professional performers tend to experience great pleasure as a result of their achievements. Such feelings of accomplishment and fulfillment are an additional benefit only the great ones enjoy. Oh, there's so much good stuff in here, right?
Hmm.
Thoughts?
Well, I think it also in regards to sassy habits, such feelings of accomplishment and fulfillment are additional benefits only the great ones enjoy. Just how much fulfillment and accomplishment are we feeling as we progress?
Yeah. Yeah. And also the
Well,
pleasure, the whole pleasure thing of like, you think about this with food, especially like we want to soothe ourselves with food. Like that's a common thing to do is to soothe ourselves with food. And before we started eating this way, then we did probably a lot more of that. And now we realize that soothing ourselves with food is actually not pleasurable enough to negate all the after effects.
although those big breakfasts of um, yogurt and fruit and stuff, I that's my favorite breakfast. I love it.
It's a
And
wonderful, it's
so,
very
yeah, I'm still
pleasurable to eat
soothing
good,
myself.
healthy food. Yeah. Not that
Yeah.
you can't enjoy it.
There's a lot of, yeah, and there is, I love that you brought that up, Chris, the satisfaction that comes as we see our progress. And really I think that that goes back to like just like how, we do adapt and we learn to love what is right in front of us, you know. The question I have, and maybe not a helpful question, you guys can continue to coach me on this one, is I just can't help but wonder, like, why I'm impressed, I guess, that people who are so much younger than I am are able to adopt these kind of mental toughness habits. And I mean, there are moments when I was younger where I saw sparks of it here and there, but I just feel like it's so interesting that it has taken so long. Like I don't know. I still grieve over that a little, I guess, where I just feel like, oh, I wish that I had understood this principle like, like 9 years ago, right?
For real.
Exactly.
Hey, our program
Been
is
there,
better.
done
It's
that.
better than it would have been, honestly, if we had done it if we'd been able to stick with it. And I think I mean, I'm sad for our experiences over the last 9 years too, but I am really grateful for,
Yeah, but don't you got to build.
yeah,
You got to build.
you can't know
You didn't have
everything.
the blocks nine
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truth,
No, for sure.
truth. Yeah. And that's why it's so so perfect right now because it's really good. Okay, we have a quote from Gary Player. He's a professional golfer. He says, "To succeed in life, one must have determination and must be prepared to suffer during the process. If one isn't prepared to suffer during adversities, I don't really see how he can be successful." Okay, let's talk about suffering. Any thoughts about suffering?
I guess that's kind of what I'm feeling is the suffering of not being able to do it for so long and just being stuck. I think Deb said it in a different place when she was just talking about the hole that you just there's no ladder, it's so dark that you can't get out of that place. And sometimes it really does feel like if that's what it feels like, the suffering.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
also really motivating too, because I feel like that that is a piece that makes me feel more passionate about helping people because I remember being in that great place of pain.
yeah. Well, and even, I mean, was it a year ago that you were telling me about it was probably a little more than a year. No, it was probably about now that you were telling me about your coaching program that you were in and how much it was helping you and stuff. And I was just like, I can't do it. There's no way I can do it. The problem is me. I know it's me. I have no willpower. I cannot do it. And that amount of suffering, obviously that's not helpful either, but the fact that you were willing to continue to send pictures and continue to, be my friend, even though I was, not gonna join you on anything, really gave me hope. And by the time, we got to December, a couple other things had happened during that time that made me think maybe I could. And then Tim was looking at a different program, hoping to find a solution somewhere. And I was like, hey, if we're going to look at investing in a program, let's look at the one Camille's doing. And we both really loved the concept of it. And that's where we got the daily coaching to add to our program because it made such a huge difference for us of just like feeling like we weren't alone in it and helped to reduce some of that suffering. Some of the suffering was still there because you have to, I mean, we started on December 11th. Or I think we both started at the same time on December 11th. So it's before Christmas, right? And I've already got the fruitcake aging. And but it really made a difference and it really, it really helped. And so yeah, there was an amount of suffering because I wasn't unaddicted to all of that food and I wanted the pie and I think I ate some of the pie and I ate some of the fruitcake. I ate a lot less than normal and I ended up losing weight that month instead of gaining, which was absolutely a miracle. But you can't, I mean, I look at it and I think, well, yes, I did commit to suffering through that and just like helping myself to get through without eating all of the treats. But looking back at it, I don't feel like it was suffering, you know? Like, I think that that's the other interesting thing is that what we consider to be suffering, and then once you get through it, you look back and you're just like, I mean, that was definitely the right choice.
I think
So,
that you brought up a good point too, though, because when I think it goes back to like with the thing for today. Anyway, and just the champions. I think that the one of the biggest things that is the difference is that they don't do it alone. It's the community. The community is like when you realize I can't do this alone and I need a community, you end up having the support. And there is a part of me, maybe a part of you too, that thinks that you can do it alone or wants to do it alone. And it might be safer to do it alone, or I maybe am less vulnerable if I try to do it alone. But when you can get the support, when you're in your suffering or when the going gets tough, right?
Yeah. You
That's
got a friend, you got a buddy.
that makes all the difference in your ability to overcome your dark place and get out of that dark place, because it really is, we need each other. We need each other.
No, I love that. That's awesome. Any other thoughts about champions dedicate their lives to greatness, or any thoughts about suffering? All right, I'll read you the action step for today is to ask this critical thinking question. How much am I willing to struggle and suffer to make my vision a reality? Is it a little, a fair amount, a lot, or whatever it takes? I think about that and I think, part of the suffering, excuse me, especially for what we're talking about or what we're doing with sassy habits, part of the suffering really is suffering through our inability to while we get good at the habits. And I think that, not giving up just because you haven't got all 7 habits like tight, but you just continue to work at it and work at it and work at it and practice it. Like it can be a real struggle. And it can also be really, frustrating when you're just like, ugh, I didn't do it again, or I missed this, or I thought I was getting really good at that. And then I dropped the ball. Keep going. I really feel like that is part of the struggle, is just training ourselves, into those habits to give ourselves that advantage. Because habit, if you think about it, habit is a very, very powerful, it can be a very powerful servant. It can also be a tyrannical master, and we've experienced that in both sides of that. So yeah, love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And it's always good to be able to visit with all of you and share thoughts. And thanks for being here. And those of you catching the replay, comment with your thoughts down below or in the community. We appreciate you guys. See you later.